I know there are different types of depression out there. I personally have only really experienced one type, which is as a response to food. I know it's a pretty common thing. Just watching the Michaela Peterson and the Jordan Peterson YouTube videos and listening to podcasts, I know what I get is the same as them as in a response to food, and I have heard other people, friends of mine and stuff, that gets it as well. So that's specifically the one that I'm wanting to talk about today. There are other types, and I've never really had any other type. I mean, when something bad happens, obviously there's a depressive factor, but I've never really gotten depressed. I just you grieve and then move on. In terms of the food related one, this is only something I've really encountered within the last couple of years, really. Before then, if someone had ever said to me I'm depressed or I'm struggling with depression, I wouldn't even really understand what they meant because I'd never had it. I mean, I would just think like I would just say, why can't you just do something? Just get up and do it. Because I never really understood what they're going through, and I definitely do understand it now. So this started. I remember within the last year or two, I started getting it. It was in response to certain foods I would eat. Sometimes randomly, it comes from having a certain specific combination of food. Um, and to describe what it's like, I mean, I thought about this for a while before I made the video of how to describe it, and I notice a lot of people struggle describing the experience of it because it's really just impossible. When it comes on, I know it's in a response to inflammation because I feel inflamed. I know the body's reacting to food. You can feel it, and usually other things will be happening at the same time. So the skin will be flaring up. Um, I'll have the heart palpitations, the muscle tension, the standard response to what I get to certain foods. But on top of it, I'll get the depression as well. Not as frequently and as sort of 100% of the time as I do get from certain foods. So they get the physical reaction. Sometimes the sort of depressive factor can be slightly random with foods, but it just triggers something that causes it. Um, I know some people do doubt the existence of it. It has been studied. I think it's called the inflammation cytokine model of depression. They have studied the way that inflammation causes depression. So not that science really has any answers or it really makes something legitimate because they've studied it, but it's definitely something to look into if you're interested anyway, especially if you do doubt its existence. So the experience of it, it is primarily emotional in the sense that you just feel, I guess, depressed. So you don't. It's more of what you don't have. You have this sense of dread, like nothing you can do will ever result in anything. There's sort of this sense of hopelessness, this sense that I mean, anything that's sort of slightly wrong or not great in your life is just enhanced by a million. Stuff that normally doesn't get to me suddenly just feels so overwhelmingly bad that I can't handle it. Um, and yeah, so there's no hope. There's no real sense of wanting to connect with others or socialize. I mean, eye contact becomes difficult. Socializing is a nightmare. I mean, I had it the other day and I had to go to work, and it's just so difficult to reach out and even have a conversation with someone. Everything is just so heavy. Everything you do is just so much more difficult. It's impossible to motivate yourself. You're just doing things because you have to do them, but inside you're like, I'm absolutely not even here. I'm not even doing it. Um, and it along with that, I sort of get this fear, this sort of, it's so overwhelming, and it's such a totality that there is this fear of just thinking um, how obvious it seems to end your life when you feel like that. Not I'm not saying I would ever do it, and I've never gotten close to doing it, but it's that the fear that I have of that sense that how easily you could actually do it because you just see the pointlessness of everything. I mean, they're very cognitive thought description of what's going on, but in the moment, it's a very emotional thing. It's just this blanket of heavy pointlessness just descending on you, making the world just coloring the world in this depressive way. So every thought, every action, every color, everything has this heaviness to it. And it's fucking terrible. I can't imagine anything. I mean, there's nothing really worse than it that I can imagine. For me, I'm very lucky. It only really lasts usually maximum 2 days, and then it goes away. But yeah, it's definitely something that fasting has helped. Fasting definitely makes it go away quicker. So anyone that has it, first thing I always recommend, just fast until it's gone. And I do tend to get it less now that I'm fasting every day, 24s, 48s, whatever I'm doing. But it definitely still comes. I mean, I hadn't had it for a few weeks there. I think maybe even more, maybe a month, and then I had it for about 2 days, the last couple of days. So that's sort of what inspired me to make this video. So yeah, I just really wanted to talk a bit about what the experience is like for me. Maybe create some awareness that it is a thing, and it's a very, very intense and scary thing. And I'm sure it's more common than we think. Maybe some people live their lives in this state just from the food that they're eating. And they just don't even know it. Some people, I've heard of people just cutting out dairy or cutting out gluten's a big one, and they does tend to help their depression. For me, I think it's histamines again. If I eat too much meat, I definitely get it. If I combine the meat with certain things, I get it. A lot of people report grains are a cause of it for them. I've currently cut out grains mainly because I know they cause me a lot of issue. High carb just does tend to. So yeah, that's basically it for me in this one. I'm currently trying to put on weight for my 5-day dry fast next week. Finding it very hard to with OMAD, even though I'm eating a ton. So over the weekend, I'm gonna prepare for this 5-day dry fast by eating a lot of fruit over the weekend. The day of the dry fast, I'm gonna start it on Sunday at about midday, and I'm just gonna eat as much fruit as I can leading up to it, just to hydrate myself. Because I really don't have much body fat. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Cheers, guys.